All right, let's get into it. Today, we're diving headfirst into a paradox that's right at the heart of AI. How on earth can a single piece of technology be a certified genius, a complete fool, and a confident liar all at the same time? Let's break it down.
So on one hand, you've got AI like GPT-4 absolutely crushing the bar exam. We're talking top 10%, a test most humans would find impossible. But then, on the other hand, that same kind of AI might turn around and tell you with total confidence that back in 2012, CERN accidentally created a whole alternate reality, not that they discovered the Higgs boson. So it's brilliant, and it's just bizarrely wrong. What is actually going on under the hood here?
And that's the big question we're going to unpack. See, the answer isn't just some simple technical glitch. It really gets to the fundamental nature of what AI is, and maybe more importantly, what it isn't. To really get to the bottom of this, we have to start with the biggest debate in the entire field right now. Are we actually watching a new kind of intelligence being born, or are we just talking to the world's most sophisticated, most convincing parrot? This brings us to this really famous and pretty controversial idea of the stochastic parrot. Now, this term, coined by researchers like Emily Bender and Timid Gabru, suggests that these big language models aren't really understanding a single thing. Instead, they're just incredible mimics, getting ridiculously good at predicting the next word in a sentence based on the trillions of examples of text they've already seen.
And this idea, it kicked off a massive debate. On one side, you have the carrot argument, saying AI is just rehashing patterns it's seen before. But then, on the other side, you've got AI pioneers like Geoffrey Hinton, who argue that, wait a minute, to be this good at predicting language, some level of genuine understanding has to be happening. I mean, you can't just guess your way into writing a perfectly coherent novel, right?
And you know, the evidence for the parrot theory is pretty compelling when you look at the mistakes AIs make. They just invent facts out of thin air, what we now call hallucinations. They can also get tripped up by really simple, real-world concepts. For example, an AI might not get that the newspaper that fired an editor is an institution, which is a totally different thing from the physical newspaper that's now wet on the table. That kind of distinction, it requires a link to the real world that a pure text predictor just might not have. But what if we could actually look inside the AI's mind while it's working? Well, some researchers are doing exactly that. They're moving past just looking at the final answer and are starting to observe the process itself. There's this fascinating technique called the logit lens, and it lets us do something that sounds like science fiction. It can translate the AI's internal number crunching at each of its many, many layers back into plain English. It's almost like we get to watch a thought form in slow motion. So check this out. When the AI is trying to predict what word comes after GPT-3 and, in its early layers, it makes a super generic guess. Enormous. Then you go deeper in, say to layer 20, and it gets more specific, but it's still wrong. It guesses autoreceptor. It's only in the final layers that it actually locks onto the right answer. Autoregressive. So the really crucial point here is that this isn't just simple parroting. As the researcher Nostalgibris put it, the AI is doing this complex process of refinement. The first idea gets transformed and sharpened layer by layer until the final answer comes out. It's a way more dynamic process than just mimicking. Okay, but this is where the story takes a major plot twist. What if the very methods we're using to train these AIs to be more helpful and accurate are accidentally teaching them how to be really, really confident liars? Just think about that for a second. We're all trying to make them better, more aligned with us. But what if we're actually rewarding the absolute worst behavior without even realizing it? This diagram shows you the problem perfectly. Look at that top path. The AI gives a totally wrong answer about CERN, but it does it with high confidence. Now, the training system, over on the left, actually prefers this confident wrong answer over a more hesitant one. The AI is learning that just sounding sure of itself can be way more important than actually being right. And this all goes down during a really popular training method, one you've probably heard of. It's called reinforcement learning from human feedback, or RLHF. This is the exact technique that made models like ChatGPT so great at having conversations, but it looks like it has this very serious unintended side effect. And this chart, wow, this result is just mind-blowing. The first bar shows, yeah, the system strongly prefers the correct chosen answer. No surprise there. But get this. Look at that last bar.
when researchers fed the system a rejected, totally incorrect answer, but just tweaked it to sound highly confident, the preference for it just skyrocketed. This is the smoking gun. It shows that confidence can literally override correctness in the AI's reward system.
So the takeaway here is crystal clear. The reward models that are supposed to be guiding the AI towards being better have this huge, built-in systematic bias. They figured out that we humans like answers that sound confident, and so they reward that trait, sometimes even when the answer is complete and utter nonsense. Okay, so that's the problem, and it's a big one for sure. But the good news is researchers are already on the case, developing some really clever solutions to build AI that's more honest, more reliable, and just more trustworthy. One of the most promising solutions out there is called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG for short. Now, the best way to think about RAG is like giving the AI an open book exam. Instead of letting it just rely on its own internal memory, which we've seen can be pretty faulty, we force it to go look up the facts from a reliable external source before it's allowed to answer. This has been shown to dramatically cut down on those hallucinations. The second big solution goes right for the throat of that confidence bias we were just talking about. It's called reward calibration. And the goal here is pretty simple. Retrain the AI's reward system so that it values appropriate confidence. High confidence for answers that are correct, and low confidence for answers that are just guesses. It's basically teaching the AI a form of intellectual humility. And researchers are coming at this from two main angles. First, they're directly fine-tuning that reward model to prefer high confidence only for the right answers and low confidence for the wrong ones. And second, they're actually adjusting the AI's score on the fly during training based on how well calibrated its confidence seems to be in real time. Which brings us to our final, really fascinating question. As we get better and better at fixing these flaws, as we teach AI to check its facts and to express uncertainty, are we actually building something that truly understands the world? Or are we just building a more sophisticated, more convincing, and ultimately a more useful parrot? The answer to that, well, it's still being written. Thanks for tuning in.